Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got Dani Henderson, and today she actually reached out to me and she wants to have a conversation with me and interview me about my childhood and about spirituality and the hologram and the control grid and the frequency and the Draco system, I believe. But Dani, thank you so much for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Yes, so Nicholas.
Yes, or yes, that's Greek.
Dani, it's so good to see you. Thank you. Yes, I reached out to you because I've watched you on and off for the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years during this frequency time of awakening, let's call it, for the positive. And I've watched you with so many different people, Dr. Christian Northrup, who's also a friend of mine, David Mahoney, who always makes me laugh. I've always got some time for Mahoney. And I saw you just a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking, and your whole being, I hadn't seen you for a while. It's shifted into this different frequency, this high spiritual kind of advocacy that you're coming from. And I thought, my God, Nicholas has obviously undergone some kind of a growth spurt, a period of awakening, of questioning, of healing internally, which is all of everyone's job right now. And I was so moved by the way, I don't even remember. See, the thing is, it's like when you read a book and you read a book and you don't always remember the contents of the book. You remember how it made you feel. You see someone speak, you remember how they made you feel. You go and see a movie, you remember how it made you feel, the resonance that was ultimately positive. And so that's what I got when I saw you speaking the other day. So I'm delighted that you have responded with a yes, and we're doing this together for the first time.
Absolutely. No, I'm very thankful. Thank you so much. Yeah. So what did you like? What kind of topics did you like that I spoke about?
You were just being so free and open and loving, and you were inviting people to do their healing. And you were speaking in a way that you had obviously kind of climbed some curves or some blocks in your own life. And this whole kind of 5 years of interruption, as I call it, but has led to an awakening. It just kind of showed me like, here is another man, another good example of someone who has withdrawn internally, done a lot of internal work, and is now stronger than ever in who he knows himself to be and who he understands this whole world to be, which is incredibly important. And you as a leader, I mean, you have broadcast with so many different people. You've worked so hard over the years. I know that you had one or two channels taken down. Your big audience was just swept away. And I saw recently that your numbers have gone up. So did you get a channel back?
Yeah, I would. My YouTube channel was removed, and I got it back after 3 years. And then within those 3 years, when I had my channel removed, I created, I think, about 5 to 7 different YouTube channels. And just when I reached a few hundred, some a few thousand, they were just swept away from me as well. Taken away. So I thought that I would just put all my energy into Rumble because Rumble has been good to me, and I've never experienced any censorship on there. So I use my Rumble channel to build. But I'm very glad that I've got the YouTube channel back because now we've got access to another audience that hasn't seen me for a few years now. And we just want to get the truth out there as much as possible because I understand that the more we embody the truth, it has a frequency impact on the control grid, because we are driving this hologram from our awareness, and unfortunately, our awareness has been hijacked by some hidden forces that we can't see, and that's what's going on right now.
hmm It's hard for people sometimes to wrap their head around the fact that everything they've been told, even if they followed a Bible or a holy book or a religion or a person or a spiritual path, that there has been this overriding system that is above what we are currently living in. And I love that you allude to the part and the point and the truth that we are the ones, we are the creators, those that come from love, the biological humans that aren't AI'd or implanted or override ridden or done. And, the ones who are completely aware in the love frequency that this humanity is such a beautiful, beautiful, perfect beingness that these humans on Earth are so well respected within the universe. There are so many other spacefaring civilizations, people just like you and me. Some call them ETs or aliens. Pleiadians, Syrians, Vegans, it doesn't really matter. There's such a massive element that they just have better technology than us. They're more advanced than us, but they are still human like us. And we haven't made that point yet. People can't get their head around the fact they've been programmed, as I have, I'm sure you have too, to think about that separation. They are not part of us. But if you shot a Pleiadian, it would bleed. He or she would bleed. He or she would bleed. Because in the Pleiadian star system, which is obviously the seven sisters in the sky, we can see that there's actually eight, but let's not go there, probably more, that we're not given the information that we need. And that lots of people have been bringing information, but ultimately we need to drop that illusion that we are separate from them because they are also within this matrix, which is a very tough pill for people to swallow when they understand they're following certain people who bring all the aliens and the ETs and everything information. So we put them on a pedestal and we shouldn't because they're no more advanced as a human, a spiritual human than we are. And the fact is the Pleiadians, for example, they admire us, Nick. They are in awe of us and our abilities as humans because we have the ability to emote and show love and compassion and dignity and strength in a way that a lot of them don't have a bit instant ability to do. So the human race on planet Earth is very, very, very important. I would love to ask you, Nick, tell me about your first memories as a child and any former kind of spiritual interactions or dreams or memories or angelic connections that you had.
Mm. I can't say I had a lot of spiritual, any guidance or angelic, visions or anything like that. But I do remember being a child and always just questioning everything. It didn't make sense to me that my mum and dad would go to work and they would come back. And as I got older, I realized they would pay taxes, they would pay bills, and it just didn't make any sense to me. I questioned everything. Just didn't seem right that we go to school and, this is it. You get a job and I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. Just
Mm-hmm.
something didn't feel right for me. Maybe in my soul, it didn't feel right. Something was off. I knew that we were in a matrix subconsciously. I wasn't aware that I was aware, but I knew subconsciously that something wasn't right here, and I questioned everything. And it's funny because I was with some family recently when we went to a wedding, and we were coming back one night from the stag night, and then the coach, and my cousins would say to me, "We remember when you used to sleep round, 9, 10 years old, and you used to tell us about this Illuminati." And now you've made a career out of it, you're telling people about it. So yeah, it's in my blood. I've just always realized there was something wrong about this world and wanted to make a difference. There was a point in my life where I accepted that there's nothing we can do because this is the world we live in. I just accepted it. And then when I realized we've got President Trump, doing what he's doing, going against the deep state, I thought I've got to get involved. But I'm at this point now in my life where after 5 years of doing podcasting, I realized that not even Trump is a savior. He's not the Messiah. He's just somebody who's also wrapped in ego, but dense enough to disrupt the matrix within. And he's a rebellion. Because if he was too spiritual, he wouldn't be a president. He wouldn't be interested in being a president. I believe that his soul contract was to be anchored in ego to a certain healthy amount or degree and in business so that he could disrupt the matrix within. And look, that's his soul contract. And then you've got others who are in forests and they're holding presence and stillness and they're frequency anchors. So everyone's got their own role. So then I realized that what really destroys the control grid is presence and stillness. Because when you anchor in presence, it makes atoms around you behave differently, which re-renders the hologram around you differently. And this is why they create false flags, propaganda, to take you out of presence and to keep you looping into the before and the after and the illusion of your thoughts. And they want you to become reactive to things, emotional reaction, emotional loosh, loosh harvesting into the Draco system, because that is the hijacking of consciousness by them. And you are essentially feeding into the control grid, which then hijacks your consciousness, controls the hologram the way they want. So this is why we need to be present. We need to understand and remember that we are not the thoughts. We are not the body. We are the witness. And when we anchor ourselves into presence and stillness, and we operate from awareness, not from the mind, we can actually shift the hologram, and we collapse the frequency architecture of the matrix. And the Dracos have no hold or control on that. After that, they cannot throw any hooks on you, So yeah, I kind of went everywhere with that. And
No, it's perfect.
yeah.
It's perfect and beautifully delivered. And this is exactly what I saw in you the other day. This wonderful ability that you have to free flow the information that is absolutely, I believe, spot on and perfect. Recognizing that this architecture that has been built around us, and that the frequency is negativity, sorrow, murder, rape, pedophilia, all these terrible things that bring the lowest aspects of a darkness where you have light and you have dark. And the darkness has been surviving for so long, keeping us at war, sending children to war, never to return or return differently, raid the very banks, the very pockets of every single person. Now, of course, they're poisoning water, food, and have been for many, many years. None of what we're seeing is new, but now we're finally seeing it. And that is the whole key. And that is because so much of the system that was built, the architecture of the matrix, the simulation system that we are very much in as biological beings, surrounded by this architecture, is collapsing. And it's the high frequency of love that permeates in everyone, that everybody has, some more than others, abilities to frequency higher and higher. Like you mentioned, the anchors in the forest and them holding space for nature. Because the ding-dongs at the top, they're trying so hard, for example, to cover our very fields and greenery in solar panels, which is such utter bollocks. But in their minds, they want to make the whole matrix a physical machine. So we don't have access to the earth to ground her energy in the body, to breathe her natural air. And, I don't know about you, but I've been given so much wrong information, or a little bit here and a little bit there and a distraction over here. So like you, I'm very much advocating for myself, sharing thoughts, which is something we have to do. And having an honesty about it, owning. I was telling you earlier, I've been going around saying, sorry, I was a bit of a witch over there. Sorry, I said that about you. I didn't realize, please forgive me for being whatever. But that's growth and that's vulnerability. And when we do those kinds of things, I believe that we really can't be owned. So the negativity would just bypass, because there's nothing to use your word, hook into. I'm working with David Icke. He's speaking at my next conference. I hold a disclosure conference every year in America and England. My next one coming up is in England, and I have David Icke, and I think he is the absolute king of explaining the architecture and the software and the looshing and the operations of the long-term bloodline Draco families and their interactions with the Greys. And a lot of people get dates wrong, they get different species wrong. That's okay, unless we've actually seen them and sat down with them, had a chat, or we've read a document that's actually real and believable. It's very difficult. So a lot of people parrot what they hear. That's because that's how we're raised, we're groomed, we're schooled to believe and listen. And then what do? We repeat. We see something and immediately there's that input, there's that implanted information that we then repeat. And we're just adding to the negativity. As you also said, the darkness in all its guises does not have the ability to create. So it pushes us into creating for it. And it's very easy to understand that when you start to take a moment to think about it. Then people, of course, are, I can't afford my food. I can't afford to feed my kid. My kid's are diabetic. There's no money for medicine. Every single system, without exception, as far as I can see, has been manipulated and hurt and harmed. Absolutely beyond dreadful, but it is breaking down. So I want to jump back to something you said earlier because it's really incredible that you were able to be reminded by your cousins in a happy, joyous event that at 9 and 10 years old, when they were staying over at your house, you would speak about the Illuminati. Now, can you remember that? And if so, where did you get your information from? What books, what TV shows? Where was the influence that you would speak out?
So back then, back 20, well, back then the internet, as you remember, was very, there was no censorship. It was very loose. So I would find websites where there were members of ex-Illuminati members who would talk about human sacrifice, and they would be really young, and they would be brought into a ceremony where they would strategically and energetically sacrifice a baby to create, to capture the soul's baby, and so yeah. So when I was listening to these interviews and learning online, and I would gather all of this together, and then I would do a lot of research in the music industry, contracts, selling your soul, and just a wide range of topics and industries online, really. And it just resonated with me, and I was like, now it makes sense. No, I get this. It just makes a lot of sense. It just resonated with me. I was just, yeah, it just didn't make sense that we're in this prison of school. You go to school and you can't leave. You got to wait until it's break time. You can't leave until it's time to go home. So this is prison. You don't have free will. Everyone's told you've got to do this, but not you do this because there's a gift here for you. And over here, you've got a gift for doing this. So you should learn this. It's not individualized to the person's resonance. You're just a number. And it just didn't seem right to me.
Mm-hmm. You're right. They kill creativity in the child. Unless the child can be spun out as a lead in a play for a music teacher or a drama teacher or some kind of use. But even they are also, the teachers are schooled. And the concerning thing has been, there's been so many pedophiles that have been groomed into becoming teachers, because the ones we have to worry about the most, unfortunately, in this very hot time of understanding how our world's been created, it's like, look at the people around the children. This is in hospitals. This is all kinds of things people don't realize sometimes with children, that they're in a situation, an emergency situation, and their blood is being taken and their blood is adrenalized because the children are in a frightful state, which of course, as we know, adrenalizes the system, adrenalizes the blood. And people have a hard time understanding that, of course, these oh gosh, what can we call them, aspects that you can take from a human physical body is used to support the decrepit, dying bloodline families. And there's so much information. I know you've spoken about it many, many times. But back to you at 9 and 10, I think that's incredible that you had awareness, naughty boy, going on the internet. Did your mum and dad know you were doing that?
Oh yeah, they did, yeah. My dad had the internet all the time, so back then.
That's
Yeah.
very lucky. Did they recognize in you there was a hunger and a kind of a drive for truth?
They thought I was rebellious back then. They just thought, I'm that. I'd ask a lot of questions, and I think a lot of kids do at that age before they're conditioned. They ask a lot of questions and they're curious. But I was always a rebel. I mean, I was just always questioning everything. That's how they saw me, as a rebel.
Mhm.
Proudly.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and as a Greek Cypriot, a country with such beautiful long-term history and a lot of magical spiritual history there too. Were there any influences from that aspect, from ancestral
Not
aspect?
really. No, we was born and raised in the UK. My mum and dad were also born in the UK. But no, I can't say there was. No, I do
No.
love my Greek roots. I love the food. I love it, But no, I wouldn't say anything like that. No.
Mm. So what happened then in the last few years for you? Because you're coming, you're this broadcaster. I remember the first set you had was like red bricks, and then you kind of evolved and developed as you went through, and you got, kind of photographically more kind of sophisticated with your backgrounds and obviously your abilities as a broadcaster. But was there a specific thing or things that happened that kind of got you to like take that breath, that soul breath forward?
Mm. So when I started doing the podcasts, I wasn't sure too much about the spiritual aspect of things. You think there's, God, there's a devil. What's after? Do you reincarnate, or do you kind of look at it in a foggy sense? You're not sure. But then I became, and whilst I wasn't sure, I was very aware and learning from the podcast that I was doing of the control structure in the 3D sense, like the banks and everything like that with celebrities and contracts and the mainstream media and things like that. But it was actually like within the last couple of years, I started feeling inside of me, um, um, you know, understanding through feelings of what we're really at, and how even just understanding. I don't know how to explain. I just started becoming more aware. My perception, my vision of our reality, it started to form like that naturally within me, and I understand that there is no savior. There is no, even the Jesus Christ exclusive savior that we should redeem to is still a trap, because Jesus didn't come here to say, you got to follow me and I'm the external savior. No, Jesus came to act as a mirror, to reflect back at you that you are Christ consciousness within you. Basically awareness, presence. When you drop into presence and stillness, that's when you feel it. When you reflect, when you witness your thoughts and you ask, who is it that is aware? Who is it that is witnessing my thoughts? When you ask that question, that is God, and that's Christ consciousness. And if we can go about our day to day operating from that awareness, that's how Jesus operated. He didn't operate from the mind, from the emotions and the reactions. And that's what he was teaching. And then when he died, the Roman Empire made it about Jesus. But Jesus didn't want it to be about him. He wanted it to be about his example. So this is what I understand. And the other thing that I realize is that anything that has separation, including the soul, because it's a separation, it's an illusion, the illusion of separation. So what's before the soul even? It's the awareness. Awareness cannot be separated. It's God, and there is only one. And that one is everything. It's before thought, before creation, before everything. And a soul is created as a vehicle to individualize, to experience duality, to experience lives, to reincarnate, to live many lives. And it holds a frequency pattern. And that's what I think it is. But before the soul, even the awareness is what you are. And that is God. You are God in form. And the reason why I believe we experience the illusion of separation is so that we can reflect back to source and remember that we are God in form. So that's my thing.
That's so beautiful. And how did you come to that kind of full ability to be able to bring that message just the way that you've brought it?
So I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of whistleblowers, spiritual people, and just reading a lot. And I think that it comes with soul remembrance. It's a mixture of information, soul remembrance, and feelings, and how you perceive reality that eventually come together within your own awareness.
That's beautiful. Who would you say over these last years has really influenced you, or books you've read?
Um, I have to say I do like David Icke. I really do like David Icke. He's very authentic, and he's definitely a divine soul in my opinion, and he's doing amazing work. He's he's hold his light very strongly through the control grid and has been ridiculed, but he's hold his frequency light a lot, and he's up there, one of them. Um, I like Alex Collier. He's somebody that I've interviewed and I admire. He's a divine soul, and I just love the guy. I just feel it in my heart. He's a very warm.
Hmm.
There's another guy called Phil Schneider who's exposed, um, extraterrestrial and stuff. These are people that go beyond the control grid. They go beyond religion, because when somebody is pushing religion, and I like Eric, I like Charlie Kirk. I like what he stood for. But even people like him, he would he would still be part of the control system, because he's pushing religion, Jesus, get married, have babies. Whereas now we have souls who are listening to their intuition, and they're asking, is it right for me to have a baby? We're not you before, in the old earth, people are operating through unconscious programs. You leave school, you get married, you have babies. It's a script. Let's not follow the script anymore. Let's listen to our intuition. Everyone has a different path. If the reasons, and I'm just giving this as an example, but if the reasons of having a baby is to do with you, then it's selfish. It should be to do with the baby. And if you have a calling to be a parent and to love and nurture from overflow, not from lack, then you should have a baby. But Charlie Kirk was pushing, in my opinion, that everyone should have a baby, and it's everyone's purpose. And yes, Jesus did say that we should go forth and multiply, but we should multiply also our frequency, you know,
Mm.
to other souls, to other beings. We can guide other beings, not always just from a parental, or necessarily from a parental point of view, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, so it's my opinion, my feelings.
Very good. Very, very good. Very well said. Yeah, it isn't everyone's journey to produce a physical being.